Hi there, and welcome to session 2 of Tailwind's 3-part training. In today's class, we're going to learn about quotes, orders, dispatches. I'll also give you some navigation tips that will be very useful for you. Great, let me just get this all started for us. Terrific. So here in the operations area, you'll see the list of menus. Let's start with quotes, everyone. So quotes is simply the ability for you to send a quotation to your customer for the movement of freight. I'm going to open up a quote so we can have a look at it, and then we'll create one together as well. So the quotes will be numbered for you, shows the customer you're giving the quote to, shows some shipment details, of course, and what you're quoting for the movement of that load. So this is what a completed quote will look like. Let's create one together. Top of every list, everyone, there is a create button for you. Clicking it is going to show you the initial fields that need to be populated. So here's a list of all the customers that you have created in your database. Now this list is going to grow and be long and involved for you. Who wants to hunt through a big long list of information? So here's a shortcut for you, everyone. Type in the first few letters of the customer's name that you want to send the quote to, and the software will start filtering out your customer list, showing you only those ones that, for example, begin with IMP. There's a little shortcut for you. So we're going to give a quote to Imperial Glass here. Our contacts will be listed. You must show a contact. You're working for someone at that company. You can add contacts on the fly right here. So you have dispatch contacts, you have sales contacts. So you can track 2 different people at the company if needed. The assigned to person will automatically populate in from whoever is logged into the application. So that's going to be automatic. Your account rep and your sales rep will populate through from the customer record. We learned about setting up our customers in yesterday's class, and you can set default account and sales reps. Those will populate through right here. If you need to change them, you can certainly do that. No problem at all. Now, some dates that are needed for quotes, of course. An issue date will simply populate with today's date. An expiry date will go for 30 days from the issue date. You can change the expiry. Maybe your quotes are good for 60 days. Simply change the expiry date to whatever works for your company. Follow-up is meant to hold a date that you might want to follow up on it. Maybe you want to remember to call them in a couple of weeks about this quote. Revised will be just that. If you happen to revise the quote, you can track the date that it was revised. Maybe the customer asked you to add on an accessorial or something. These are custom fields, everyone. We talked about those custom fields yesterday. They're there for you if you need them. But now I can simply hit the create button and the software assigns the quote number for me and allows me to detail what we're quoting on. So right here, if I add a shipment, I can now detail. So let's assume we're going to quote on some appliances. Here in this drop down, everyone, is all of those, let me back out here for a minute, is all of those commodities that you added in the configuration area. If in fact you did add, we can certainly simply type the commodity if that's what we want to do. We can also choose the commodity from our pull down. So let's quote on some sheets of glass. It's a full load. You have the ability to quote on partials, full loads, and LTL. The weight of the shipment, whatever that might be. The equipment required, maybe a flat deck with racks. Again, some shortcuts for you. Typing an F gives me the flat deck. Typing a V gives me the van. So type a bulk, it's going to give me a bulk piece of equipment. So you've got those shortcuts there. You've also got the ability to click right in and choose the piece of equipment. Then, of course, the nice number of pieces, packages, skids, sheets of glass, whatever that might be. So you can just enter the amount, and then sheets I can get by typing an SH. Skids is an SK. Units is a U. There's lots of shortcuts throughout the software for you, everyone. I'm going to go back to my sheets. And now I detail where I'm picking up and where I'm delivering to. I always use existing locations because this will give me my location list. You can freeform the location. If you don't want to commit a location record to your application, you can certainly do that. I don't recommend using freeform locations because if you convert this quote to an order, those freeform locations will not flow through to the order for you. So I always find it's easier just to create the location record, even on the fly, because then that data is committed to your database. So when I switch, when I have existing location highlighted, here in this pull down is all of the locations that I have created and set up in my database. I can simply start typing and it filters out. So if I type Imperial, it goes looking for those Imperial locations. So let's choose Imperial Warehouse, happens to be in Denver, Colorado. For quotes, you do not need to populate pickup dates or times. Maybe you don't know when this is moving yet, so we'll leave those blank today. Now I simply choose where I'm delivering to. Again, I'm filtering out my list by typing the first few letters, and we'll deliver this out to the Imperial Glass Store, happens to be in Seattle. I hit the create button and the software adds those shipment details in for me. And I can now show the amount of money that I'm going to be quoting on this load by simply adding a receivable. Here in the revenue items will be all of my freight charge items, my accessorials that I created. Again, you'll recall in yesterday's class, we went over these revenue items. So now I can simply choose my basic freight charge if that's what I'm quoting with. And perhaps on this load, I'm going to quote $3,200. Maybe I need to add in accessorials. I can do that. I add that revenue line into my revenue area and simply click add receivable. So perhaps in this situation, the customer has asked me to tarp the load. All I have to do is choose that tarp charge. My set rate for tarping comes through to me, but I can change it. Maybe in this situation, I'm going to be charging $100 for a tarp. Again, just adding it in, I now have this quote rated and ready to go to the customer. So here under the print menu, I can email the quote to the customer, or I can simply go ahead and throw it on the screen so I can check it. Give it a minute. Here it comes. Great. So your logo, your company information is going to populate here. This is a quotation that you can send your customer. Terms and conditions down here. You can customize those. Those are in your document fields and you can make them your own. So I've sent the quote off to my customer by email. My customer's considering it. There's a few options I have here if I want. I can post out to a load board. If you want to get your carriers to quote on this load while your customer's considering the quotation, you can post it out to load boards if needed. You can convert quotes to orders, one click of a button. Down here, you're going to see some carrier rates. So perhaps you're talking to your carriers throughout the day, and you might be saying to them, hey, I quoted on a job. What would you need to move some sheets of glass from Denver into Seattle? Well, all you have to do is add a rate and detail the carrier you were talking to. So maybe I happen to be talking to Miles over at 123 Transport, and Miles told me that he's going to need $28.50 to move that load for me. I can put a note in. Maybe Miles tells me he's going to have equipment in the area in a week or something like that. Any information needed, all I have to do is now hit the create, and those carrier rates are going to show for me. So I can, when I've got a bunch of carrier rates here and my customer accepts this quotation for the movement, I can go ahead and see all my carrier rates and know who I want to give this job to when it's time to move it. The quote will sit on your quote screen in the active quote status color, showing you that you're ready to move this once the customer accepts it. When the customer does accept the quote, simply open the quote and convert it to an order. When you convert to an order, That's interesting. Let's have a look. Oh, because I don't have a pickup date. There we go. So remember, I entered the quote without a pickup date. Because you're converting it to a quote, to an order, you have to know when to pick it up. So let's assume we're going to do this load today. Customer says, go ahead, hit the pickup date and the delivery date, of course, whatever that might be. And now you can save that. And you can now get the convert button because I have all the information populated that the order requires. I can now convert this quote to the order and the software will create the order for me. Give it just a minute here. Great, here comes our order. So the software opens a brand new tab on your browser with that order. We're going to talk about that multi-tabbed browsing in today's class as well. But I've got the quote here. I've got the order here. The order is always going to show me which quote it was converted from. And if let's just go back to the quote list now. If I look at this quote now, I can see that it's a completed quote because it was converted to an order. Great, let's go back over to this order and have a look at it again. It simply brings through all the information. Now down here, you're going to see a line right here saying expenses and an expense to John for some dollars. That's automatic payables at work for you, everyone. Remember, John is a commissioned sales rep in my database getting 15% of the profit. So right now he's getting 15% of the entire load because I've not dispatched it nor associated any expenses to this load yet. So you'll see that change as we work with this order through the application. Let's head to our order list. Now that we've converted that order, 1243, let's see what it looks like on our order list. So I'm simply coming to the order list here, and I can see 1243 has been created for me for Imperial Glass. It's in the unassigned order status, meaning I haven't dispatched it yet. So I'm going to leave that there for us. We'll dispatch it in just a moment. Let's now talk about creating orders from an order level instead of a quote level. So you don't have to begin with a quote. Got a create button on your order list that's simply going to allow you to create an order as well. So let's have a look at that. When I hit create, software opens up those fields that are required for population. Again, here's all your customers, everyone. Simply type the first few letters to get the customer you want to work with. Let's go to work for Acme. All of my contacts are going to populate here. I can choose the contact I happen to be working with, whoever that is. If your customer requires a reference number or a PO number to flow through to their invoice and show on the invoices, populate that reference number here. This field will print on an invoice. Again, you can associate branches. If you are a multi-branch software, you can associate orders to a specific branch. The booked by will populate in from whoever is logged into the software in creating this order. The account rep and the sales rep will flow through from that customer record. These are custom fields, everyone. They're just there for me to track additional information. And when I go next, now the software is going to open up all those other fields for me for population. We always need to know what we're moving, where it picks up, and where it delivers to. Let's just go ahead and move some Acme supplies for this company. Maybe the Roadrunner will come running across my screen for us. And we'll choose a van, perhaps. Number of skids, packages, pieces, whatever that might be. Let's go for 24 skids and 32,000 pounds. These load types, let me talk to you about those for just a moment. We all know what FTL, that's a full load. We all know what LTL is. Partials. That word can be a little confusing to some of our customers. So let me explain that. While LTL is multiple shipments for multiple customers joined together on one piece of equipment, partials is multiple shipments with different pickup or delivery locations for one customer. So an example of that is a customer asks you to pick up 5 skids at their warehouse and deliver out to 5 different Walmart stores. One skid goes to each different Walmart stores. Those skids become individual partials or shipments because they all have a different drop location. In this situation, we're using full load because that's what I'm demonstrating, a one pick, one drop full load scenario. And now, of course, we need to pick our origin and our destination location. So let me go ahead and pick Acme Industries, happens to be in Atlanta, Georgia. Pickup dates are required for orders, everyone. Now, if there is a scheduled pickup time, maybe I've been told that this load needs to be picked up at 0800. Populate that time and switch this toggle on because that will show through on the instructions that are issued to carrier partners or company drivers and owner operators. If there's a pickup number, populate it here. If there's specific notes, maybe we've been told that the driver must have his own PPE on and visible. PPE, with the pandemic raging right now, PPE is a little different in the transportation industry, as we all know. Personal protection equipment refers to safety vest, hard hat, those safety boots. So a lot of locations are requiring drivers to have their own PPE on and visible when they come to load. So any shipper notes that you need to show in there, those instructions will flow through right to the driver's app, the load confirmation. Now let's pick a delivery location. So I'm going with Acme again, and we'll go to Acme Store 561 in Belvidere, Illinois. So we're rolling from Atlanta up to Belvidere with a delivery date, whatever that might be. Now, very often we're giving loading or unloading windows. How do we represent that in a delivery time? We put it in our delivery notes. So all you have to do here is indicate unloading window 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., whatever those details are. Now I'm going to talk to you for a brief moment here about multiple shipments. I have said that we're doing a one pick, one drop full load scenario here, but very often our customers ask us to pick up multiple locations to deliver to their one location or pick up at their location and deliver out to multiple locations. These buttons will help you create those multiple shipment scenarios. So add another shipment will simply populate this shipment on the screen and allow you to detail further shipment details. Add a pick will populate this shipment on the screen and leave the pick location blank for you so you can now show a different pickup. Add drop does the same, only in reverse. Populates this shipment, will create another shipment record with the drop location blank so you can then fill in a new drop location. Add return is useful in round trip scenarios, and add copy is useful for when you're moving multiple commodities for one customer from the same location, pickup location to the same delivery location. So those buttons will help you create those multiple shipment scenarios. The last thing to setting an order is, of course, setting how much money you're charging for this order. So here is all of your revenue items that you've created. Let's go with a basic freight charge of $18.50. Maybe I'm charging a fuel surcharge on this load. You can do that in our software. If you need to charge fuel surcharges, switch this toggle on and click Add Another Revenue Line. The software will populate that basic freight charge on the screen for you, allowing you now to add in accessorials, fuel surcharges. If I choose my fuel surcharge, my basic fuel surcharge, the software shows it, shows the unit rate because that's what the fuel surcharge is being based on, and allows me to set that percentage. So maybe in this situation, I'm getting a 5%. It must be represented in the true decimal point with that 0 point and the 2 dots afterward. So make sure you do it in the true decimal scenario there. I can add more revenue lines if I want. Maybe I have to TARP, maybe I have to provide some lumper services. Simply add another revenue line. There we go, the software is simply adding them in for me. It calculated that 5% of 1850 is 9250, now allowing me to put in some more accessorials if needed. So example, maybe I've been asked to provide some lumper service fees. So again, all I have to do is add the amount that I'm adding. The last revenue item that you put into the application does not need to be saved in any way. You simply finish the order. You can dispatch the order right from here if needed. I'm simply going to finish the order so we can see what it looks like. So when I click finish order, the software will tell me it's been successfully created, and I have some options. I can post to load boards. If you want to advertise that order for your carriers to quote to you on, I can open the order and I can go directly back to the order list. Let's open this order in this situation so we can see it. So it assigns our next order number for us, shows me the customer I'm working for, the currency. This is a good place to point out to you that we are a multi-currency software. So if you need to invoice your customers in US and CAD, can be accomplished. The shipments area shows the details we've already entered. The revenue area shows what we're charging the customer. Now, from an order, I can create invoices, bills of ladings, rate advisories. I can email any of those. So I always recommend that you check out the documents. Let's have a look at this invoice so we can see what it looks like. There's my logo, my company information. That's going to populate through from your branch record. Shows the customer that I'm doing the work for, shows all the details of what the shipment is, and there's all of those freight charges and accessorials being listed for me. There's my tagline. We talked about that in yesterday's class. So make sure you check out all of those documents, your bills of ladings, your rate advisories, and make sure they're what you want to use. Now this order is going to populate on my order screen in that unassigned order status because it's something that I have to dispatch or move. So that's where we're going next, everyone. We're going to talk about dispatches. So because we provide software to both asset-based trucking companies as well as freight brokerage companies, we need to be able to dispatch them separately. So first of all, I'm going to go through and we'll dispatch one out to a brokered carrier in the case of freight brokerage situations. I'll come back and we'll dispatch one out to a company truck as well, so you can see how that works. So by simply picking the order and opening it, I'm going to have a dispatch button over here. That's my internet at work, everyone. Give it just a moment. I happen to live in a remote community of British Columbia, and I don't have high-speed internet, unfortunately. It'll refresh up there in just a minute, everyone. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so now I have a dispatch button right here. If there are multiple shipments, you do have the ability to dispatch them separately if needed. But when I choose to dispatch all shipments, the software asks me, new, existing. Well, new will be used in 98% of the time. Existing is used when you're going to throw a skid of LTL on the back of a trailer that's already been dispatched. I'm simply going to choose new, and then the software will allow me to dispatch this. So as I mentioned, we're first going to look at dispatching it to a carrier partner. In that situation, I will have my brokered carrier button highlighted, and here in this pull down will be every carrier I have vetted and set up in my database. So if I choose the carrier, 123 Transport, my contacts are here. Maybe I actually talked to Ryan here at 123 Transport. The equipment type will automatically populate through from the order. We entered the equipment type on the order. You can track your driver cell, carrier tractor, and carrier trailer number if you're given that information. The carrier always tells us the rate that they want to charge us. So, and I don't know which order I dispatched. Let's just throw in $2,000 on this one. So you can show how much you're paying your carrier. That's important, must be on the load confirmation. And you can categorize that expense right here. I like all of my outside carrier expenses to be dumped into one expense bucket. I talked to you about those expenses yesterday, and the ability to do good cost analysis comes along with the need to categorize all of those expenses. Now, if I save this dispatch, the software goes ahead and creates the dispatch record for me. So let's talk about the difference between orders and dispatches just for a moment. The order is what your customer asks you to move. So orders are customer related and revenue driven. Orders are how you guys make your money. The dispatch is expense driven. You have to pay someone to move that order for your customer. So your expenses will be listed on the dispatch. You'll see your expenses here. We said 123 Transport wanted $2,000. Remember John in those automatic payables? There's the at work, the software at work for you, everyone. John is set to receive 15% profit, commission on the profit. So it takes the revenue, it deducts the expenses, determines my profit level of $820, pays John 15% of that. So those automatic payables can be really valuable for you, creating them automatically for you. You'll see some other examples here shortly. But now that we've created the dispatch, the next thing a dispatcher wants to do is get the instructions out to their carrier partner. So here under the print menu, you have the ability to email a load confirmation to your carrier partner. Let's throw this on the screen, everyone. The load confirmation is the legal binding contract that gets set up between yourself and the carrier you've hired to move the job. Your logo, your company information. This is a tagline. It shows where to pick up, where to deliver. It will show loading terms and conditions. Those are completely customizable by yourself. Now, very often we have specific load instruction notes that we have to get through to our carrier partners. We want them on our load confirmations. Let me show you how to take care of that. Every record in the database has a notes section. Notes will become very valuable to you. Notes are valuable on dispatches because it allows you to convey instructions to your carrier partners, company drivers, and owner operators. So if I add a note, I've got a choice of two notes. Internal notes will be viewed by internal users only. Load instruction notes will print on instruction sheets. So let's look at some examples here. Let's say driver must check call every morning. Let's say driver must ID as my company. Whatever those details are that you want to get through to your carrier partner, type them here, hit the create button, and now when you print that load confirmation, let me throw it on the screen again for us, those load instructions are very easy to see. They're right there for us. Let's talk a little bit more about this dispatch record so I can explain to you what's happening in here. You've got a map route showing where you're going from and to, with the ability to download or email those instructions out to anyone. All of our miles are created by an application called Here.com. Here.com seems to be the up-and-coming player in the mileage world these days. They are truck practical miles. Down here in the route plan, you can see where you're picking up, where you're delivering to. You can, if you click on, you'll see a related Google map to show you where that location is. You can add locations. No problem at all. Adding, if you want to start a guy at your yard, add the location in and make sure using these arrows, move that location up or down in the route plan for where you want. You can calculate miles. Clicking that button will allow the software to let you know that it's 1,324 miles to go from Denver to Seattle. Over here, you have some segment details. So as your carrier calls you and says, does those check calls and calls and says, I've loaded the load, you can now start marking those arrived and departed flags. So you've got 2 flags for each location. This marks your in time at that location. This marks your out time at that location. So you can now be tracking loading and unloading times at your loading facilities. When a load is delivered, simply marking these flags will allow the software to take care of some processes for you. Once the software knows that the order has been delivered, it picks this related order up and it moves it over to the AR side of the software. The last thing a dispatcher is going to do as they're working their dispatches is they're going to complete a dispatch. They know the load's been delivered. They're comfortable with the expenses and what you're paying the carrier. They will complete a dispatch, which will allow the software to pick up these related expenses and move it over to the AP side of the software. So AR is accounts receivable, AP is accounts payable. We'll visit those in tomorrow's class, everyone. Let's go back and dispatch a load. Oh, wait, before we do that, let's talk about this send load confirmation for a brief moment. So we have the ability to send electronic load confirmations in our application as well. While you can email a load confirmation to your carrier partner, you can also send an electronic load confirmation to your carrier partner. Sending an electronic load confirmation to your carrier partner will send your carrier partner an email giving them the pickup location, the delivery location, and the amount of money you're willing to pay on that load. It does not give company nor address details. And this protects you against back solicitation until such time that your carrier does accept the load. Your button here will turn yellow, and as soon as that carrier accepts the load, this button's going to turn green. You have the ability to click on it to see who accepted and date and time they accepted. As soon as your carrier partner does electronically accept that load, they will receive the full load confirmation with all details needed. Great, let's head back to our order screen and let's pick up that second order we made and dispatch it out to company equipment because it is slightly different. So all I have to do is open the order, go to my dispatch button, onto a new, and now with my company truck button highlighted instead of brokered carrier, here in this pull down will be every tractor I have set up in my database. So I can now go ahead and choose the tractor that's moving the load. Trailers will flow through from previous dispatches if in fact you have that toggle set in your configuration area. Let me go and show you. So again, remember that configuration area that I said it's an area you're going to come back to visit? So if you come in to the configuration area and for example, under, I think it's dispatches. Yes, right here. If you have keep trailer from tractor's previous dispatch and keep driver from tractor's previous dispatch, if you have those toggles switched on, then that's exactly what the software will do for you. When you dispatch a load, it's going to bring the trailer and the driver forward. You can change them if needed. Maybe Georgia Green dropped that trailer and picked up a different one. You can certainly do that. You can also bring in previous locations. If you want to track empty segment miles, that means that they dropped at a location, ran some empty miles to pick up their next load. You can be tracking those empty location miles. So typically you'd choose the very last one or the top one located here, but you can always check those dates and times if you need. I won't bother inserting the previous location in this situation. So now that I create this dispatch for my company piece of equipment, whether it's a company-owned tractor or an owner-operator-owned tractor, it no longer shows that it's a carrier. It shows the truck moving the load, The driver is populated in this spot, and it's no longer a load confirmation. It's a trip manifest. Trip manifests are slightly different than load confirmations. You don't need a legal binding contract to get the details out to your carrier partner. Everything's right here on the trip manifest. It gives them a trip number. That's what they're going to reference on their pay settlement statement. It tells them the tractor they're using, of course. It shows them that they're picking up at 8 a.m. We put an appointment time there. So it will show the pickup, Acme Industries. These notes will populate right through from, well, that note was the one that we put in the order. This loading info is coming right through from that location record. So all details are meant to flow right through the application and show for your company drivers or owner operators. Now, let me talk to you for a brief moment about our drivers app. I can't demonstrate it for you here, but I can certainly speak to you about it. So we have an app in the application that allows you to send dispatch information out to your company drivers and owner operators. It is an app that they can download free of charge. There is no extra charge for this app from Google Play or the iTunes Store. So it is both Android and iPhone capable. You will register your drivers so they can receive the app on their phone, and the mere act of a dispatcher dispatching this to Truck 200 and having Georgia Green here will allow the software to send all details through to the driver on the app. And it doesn't stop there. The driver has some functions they can perform. Georgia receives this dispatch on their app, and when Georgia goes in to Acme Industries in Atlanta to load, Georgia can press a button on the app on her cell phone that marks this flag in your database. We'll even populate the time that Georgia sent you the message. So these flags can be set directly from your driver's cell phone. As well, when the driver delivers into Belvidere, Illinois, marks these flags showing you in your database that the load's been delivered, the driver has another button on the app, on their cell phone, that will allow them to capture the proof of delivery. That POD will flow seamlessly through the electronic world, attach itself to the order in question in your database, and be ready for sending to your customer with the invoice. So you can actually be invoicing your customers day of delivery with the Tailwind POD Complete app. Great, so that's dispatching a load onto company equipment. Everything's exactly the same. Let's see another automatic payable populate for us. So you can see here, Georgia Green. Remember, we talked yesterday that I had Georgia Green set up to receive 50 cents per mile when she's the driver on a dispatch. Right now it's showing $0. That's because we haven't calculated miles on this load. So if I calculate miles, letting the software tell me it's 821 miles to go from Atlanta to Belvidere, and I save those details, then the software will go to work for me. It commits the details into Georgia's bill, paying her 50 cents per mile for those 800 and some odd miles. These bills will flow right through the application, will eventually go over here to the accounts payable, and will eventually land in the personnel pay or owner operator pay wizard, where you can create comprehensive pay settlement statements for your company drivers, commission sales reps, owner operators. But again, we'll talk more about that in tomorrow's class. So that's the ability to take orders and dispatch them. You have a dispatch list as well that's going to show you those statuses. We'll talk about all these lists in just a minute, everyone. I want to roll through this entire operations area, and then we'll get into those navigation tips. So you have orders, dispatches, you have a shipment screen. So remember I talked to you briefly about creating orders with multiple shipments? Well, that's what this screen will show. It simply breaks down your orders to a shipment level. Here's an example for you. My order number 1236 happens to have 2 shipments on it. So it simply breaks it down to a shipment level, shows you the status, gives you the ability to click into that individual shipment to see the related dispatch, for example. Maybe I need to get through to the dispatch that's carrying that shipment. I can get right through to the dispatch right from that shipment list. This advertise equipment is the ability for you to advertise empty equipment. So we've all seen the ability to advertise quotes and orders out to those load posting sites. Well, sometimes asset-based trucking companies want to advertise empty equipment, and that can be done. Right here in the create, you can simply now list the tractor that you have empty somewhere with an available date, the type of equipment that they might have with them, the rate you'd be looking for to go from where and to, the available weight, the available length. You can advertise this out on those load posting sites if needed. Equipment status. This is a great screen to look at to view your assets. By assets, I mean tractors, trailers, and drivers. So for asset-based trucking companies, this is where you're going to be able to get a snapshot of what's going on with your assets. So if I have drivers highlighted, it's going to show me every driver and what they're presently doing, what they're planned on. If I switch the toggle to tractors, then the same thing. It's simply going to show me tractors, what they're presently doing, or what they're planned on. So you can see your status is right across here. If I mark that dispatch, well, let's go and do that. Hang on one sec so you can see it. I'm going to go into, these are some quick open buttons right across the top. I see dispatch 186. I type it into my quick open dispatch and hit open, and it opens that dispatch on another tab for me. So I'm going to mark this in transit. So because I hit the pickup, those arrived and departed flags on the pickup area, it's now moving this in an in-transit stage. So I'm going to come back to my equipment list. I'm simply going to refresh it. So see how it changed color? It's now showing in the in-transit stage. So you can filter your equipment status by drivers, tractors, or by trailers, giving you an easy view at any time where any piece of equipment or driver might be. The last thing to see on your operations list is tasks. So tasks are kind of like an Outlook reminder, you can think of them as. Remember when we talked about our master files, personnel records, and equipment records? There's compliance details that you have to track. Commercial driver's licenses that expire, safety inspections that expire, hazmat certificates. So all of those tasks will populate through to this screen, and they will be assigned to whoever you set in the reminders section of the software, of the configuration area. So these tasks will populate, will show. Any task that is assigned to the logged in user is going to show in this bell area. So if you log in one morning and your bell area's got a red dot beside it, click on it and it's going to show you those tasks that are assigned to just yourself. Now you can create tasks. Maybe you as a sales manager wants one of your sales rep to call a customer. Create a task for it. Say whatever it is, call customer. Assign it to any member on your team. Put a due date in, a remind date if needed. Show the related item. In this case, we're asking the sales rep to call a customer. So show the related customer record that you need the customer to call, throw in a note. When Cheryl Jones logs into the application on this date, it's going to show her that task. Now let's come back up to this area for just a moment. We were just talking about that bell area. Let's note that there's another little icon right next to it. This is an SMS ability within the software. This is your ability to SMS or text with any company driver, company driver, owner, operator, or coworker. So if I need to talk to Georgia, I just highlight Georgia's name and I just start typing. So you don't have to navigate back and forth between the software and your cell phone. You can SMS directly out of the application. Great, so that gives us a run through of the operations area, everyone. Let's go to the main page and go to those support articles and videos for a quick moment. They are so very valuable to you. Remember, this is basic training, and I do not cover off the software in depth. So you want to make sure you're looking at all of your articles. Like very important ones here, advanced orders and dispatching. Let me just briefly explain what I mean here. Very often trucks break down and we need to get another truck, another carrier, another company truck under a load. You can do that with switches and drops. So switches are when you need to switch a load off to another carrier partner or company truck. Drops are sometimes we send like a town truck out to do a preload for a highway guy. You can send the town truck out, do the preload, and you can then drop this load in your yard. So while I don't go over those functions in basic training, you do have those. Where'd our documents go? There they are. You do have articles that will explain those to you. Type a question in here. Type that switch question, and the software will show you related articles that will help you with those. Okay, let's go back and, okay, so we've gone over articles. Let's talk about navigation tips. That's a good thing to do. So we're all used to Windows-based, let me go to my orders screen instead. We're all used to Windows-based software where we maximize and minimize windows, maybe not even remembering what's on each window. It's a little different in online software. It's the ability to make use of your multi-tabbed browsing capabilities of your browser. By that, I mean, I can have my order list here, and then I can navigate to my dispatch list, but I have to wait for it to load. Sometimes I don't want to wait for those things. So I can, with a right mouse function, have my order list open on one tab, my dispatch list open on another tab, my equipment status list open on another tab. So now all I have to do is navigate between the tabs. No longer waiting for lists to load, I simply navigate. I wonder if you guys can see those. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Let me do that again. Let me close up some tabs here quickly. So I reduce them down a little bit. So right across here, it's going to tell you what each tab holds. As well as opening multiple lists on different tabs, you can also open individual records. Now, transportation is an industry where you truly have to have some serious multitasking tools. Let the software help you with that, everyone. Examples. Maybe Georgia Green is calling me about this load. I can, with a right mouse function, open that dispatch on another tab in my application. I can be talking to Georgia, and all of a sudden I get an urgent call from a customer. I put Georgia on hold, of course. I come to my order list. Again, with a right mouse function, I can open the order that the customer is calling in about, talk to the customer about anything that's needed, make my notes, if needed, on this order, hang up from the customer, close the tab, and easily come right back to that dispatch I had open and continue my conversation with Georgia. So this probably took me the most amount of time to get used to, getting used to those multiple tabs, but they will become so very valuable to you, everyone, once you get used to them. Now I want to show you some ability to customize what you're looking at. Everybody's different and wants to see different data in their software, depending upon the job function they hold. And you can take care of that in this software. I'm going to use the order list as an example. Every list view in our software has an active columns button at the bottom. Clicking on it will show you every piece of information that is available for viewing on this particular screen. Switching a toggle on means it's going to be viewed. Having the toggle grayed out, it will not include that information. So once you've chosen the columns that you want to see in your database, you can also rearrange them. So example here, maybe I want to see my pickup city right next to my pickup date. I simply drag and drop the column wherever I want it. So I can organize this screen in the exact order I want to see the information. A trick here, everyone. Make sure you hit that Save List button down at the bottom, because if you navigate away from the screen without hitting the Save List, it's not going to save your personal preferences. So make sure you click that Save List, commit those details. It is only a personal preference for the logged in person. Your column sorting is not going to affect other users in the application. As well as putting your columns in whatever order you want them, you can also toggle columns. Maybe I want all my customers organized together. All I have to do is toggle my customer column heading, and the software will do that. It organizes them in alphabetical order, so now I can see at a glance all orders for that customer. You've got some quick search tools here. Let me just refresh this screen up here for a quick moment so I can. And there we go. So now I'm back in my default view. So maybe I'm looking for a particular customer reference number. I can choose customer reference, type the information in, and hit go or the search button, and the software goes and looks for any orders that happens to have that customer reference number. So you do have some quick search tools right here that are available to use. You want to look for customers, go ahead, put the customer and choose the customer you're looking for, hit search, and the software will return only orders that you are moving for Acme. You've got some statuses across the top of some of your screens. You can turn statuses on or off as needed. So example, maybe I'm a dispatcher and I'm coming in on Monday morning and I only want to see my unassigned orders. All I do is turn all the other statuses off so that the screen will filter out. Now give it a minute. That's my internet, everyone, but it will refilter and show me only unassigned orders. But the software will filter it out, show me only those orders that are in the unassigned status. So now I can go through. There we go, it's working. So now I can go through and just work my unassigned orders. I'm done that. Now maybe I want to make my check calls out to my in-transit orders. Simply activate the status that you need to look at. So I'm going to go ahead and reactivate those statuses. Now see how you've got a sent to invoicing and an invoiced? Those statuses are going to be automatically activated for you. As an operations person, you truly don't care about what's been sent to invoicing or invoiced. So turn those statuses off. But if you ever need to see invoiced, all you have to do is turn it on, and all of those orders that have been invoiced will populate here on this order screen for you. Great. Let me turn that off and think about what else I want to show you. I think that's it. The navigation tips, the order statuses. Yeah, I think we've gone through everything in this class, everyone. Let me finish this off and then I will get the floor opened up for some questions. 1 minute, everyone. Okay, that's it for session 2 of our 3-part training. In tomorrow's class, we're going to start right here on the AR side, the AAP side. Great, let me just get this closed off and we'll get the floor opened up for some questions. Thank you.